Greetings, everybody. I trust that everyone is good and well. Yeah, so let's have a look at Volatility 75, and yeah, let's get straight into the chart without wasting any further time. So if you guys can recall, in the last video that I posted in regards to Volatility 75, I'd spoken about how we have this very nice M structure at this level, which has a neckline at more or less this level over here. And also I'd mentioned that the neckline currently is also a very strong level of support, as we had multiple rejections in that area, as you guys can see. And currently we can see that the market is testing that neckline once again, right? And what may actually happen at this point in time is that as much as we have this very nice M structure, price may push further up to at least this level over here, which is also a very strong level of resistance, and we might possibly we might possibly see price push further down or even further up to around this level here, which is also a very strong level of resistance, right? So what I'm going to do is actually add a neckline to that M structure, because it is very much important and it's an area that we need to make sure that we keep an eye on. So there goes our neckline, which is also a very strong level of support, right? What I would love to see myself really is for price to actually break below the neckline of this M structure and then head back up to retest that M structure, and this is where I would possibly look for selling opportunities, right? As ultimately I would love to see this M structure come to completion at around this level over here at this point in time. So as I said, I would look for possible selling opportunities at this point once the market is broken below that neckline and goes back to just test it again, right? But for now I won't necessarily be looking for selling opportunities, yeah, as price is at a very strong level of support, and we have multiple rejections on that line, or that area rather, right? So let's proceed. What else do we see in regards to the monthly chart of Volatility 75? At this point I don't see anything further. I'm just going to go down to the weekly chart. So here we are on the weekly chart. Let's see. So what do we see on the weekly chart that we should be paying attention to? On the weekly chart, we can see that as much as we had this very huge M structure that I spoke about on the monthly chart, we also have another M structure over here, which has a neckline at this point, right? And on the monthly chart, I said that we might see price bouncing off of this area and heading back to that level, which is a very strong level of resistance, which is also the neckline of this M structure that I've just drawn. And remember guys, that when it comes to M structures, we would love to see price break the neckline to the bottom side and then head back up to test the neckline and then push further down, meaning that we would look for possible selling opportunities at this level. Similarly, because we have an M structure over here and the neckline has been broken to the bottom side, and currently we see price rejecting at this level over here, ideally we would love to see price come back to the neckline of that M structure and then test it, and that's where we would most likely look for possible selling opportunities to around this level over here, which is the neckline of that huge M structure, as well as a very strong level of support, right? I hope what I've just explained makes sense. Anyway, from here what I'm going to do is just add a neckline to that smaller M structure as well, because it is extremely important as well. Just bear with me. There we go, right? There goes our neckline of that M structure. So the next thing that I'm going to do at this point in time is utilize the Fibonacci retracement tool. We just want to see if the neckline of this M structure aligns with any of the key numbers that we have on the Fibonacci retracement tool. Just bear with me. Let's see Fibonacci neckline. Okay, so we can see that the neckline aligns with the 23.6% Fibonacci retracement level, right? which is also a key level. However, as much as that's the case, myself personally, I would have loved to see the neckline aligning with the 50% or the 61.8% Fibonacci retracement levels. Anyway, the 23.6 level is also good, and it's also confluencing as far as looking for possible selling opportunities at the neckline of that M structure, right? And the key word is possible, or rather the key phrase is possible selling opportunities. We're not just going to sell by virtue of having price test that neckline. We're going to look for further reasons as to why we should be selling at this point. And as I said, our neckline should be this level over here, which is the neckline of that huge M structure, as well as it's also a very strong level of support due to the various touches we've had on it, right? Anyway, let's proceed. I'm just gonna delete this tool. There we go. But we need to keep in our minds that the neckline of that M structure, which is over here, aligns with 23.6% Fibonacci retracement level. Anyway, let's proceed. So is there anything else that we see on this chart that we should be paying attention to? I don't see much really at this point in time. So what I'm going to do now is head down to the daily chart. However, before I do so, I just want to point out also that we also have this level over here, and it's a very strong level of support. And should price push up and this neckline does not hold, what we would do is wait for price to close above this level and then head back to this level to test it, and because it would now be a very strong level of support, and we would look for possible buying opportunities to around this level because that's the closest level of resistance, right? Anyway, at this point in time, it is not important. The most important area is this area over here, as the anticipation is for price to reject this area, right? Anyway, let's proceed. So from here, I'm just going to head down to the daily chart, as I've said. So here we are on the daily chart. The first thing that I'm going to do in regards to the daily chart is add my daily channel. Let's see. So just bear with me while I edit. Let's see. So there goes our daily channel, more or less, right? So what else do we see in regards to the daily structure? Remember on the weekly chart we spoke about this W structure over here, which has a neckline over there, right? Keep that in the back of your minds as we proceed with this daily channel of Volatility 75. So what else do we see, right? Another thing that we also see is that we had a head and shoulders pattern at this region, with this side being the left shoulder, this being the head, and this being the right hand shoulder, and the neckline was or rather is at that level over there. However, we can see that this whole move played itself out, as it started over here and it ended over here. So we can just disregard this entire move, but we must just keep in the back of our minds that we have a very strong level of resistance also at this point, and that is because it is the neckline of this pattern that I just spoke about. So I'm just going to add that or rather add a line to that structure so that we don't forget about it, because it's also a very strong level of resistance at this point in time. I just hope that my lines are not too confusing. Nonetheless, let's proceed. So what else do we see on this chart? What else do we see on this chart, which is the daily chart? Another thing that I see is that we have another smaller M structure over here, which has a neckline at that level, right? I hope you guys can see that we saw price breaking to the bottom side of that neckline and then heading back to test it at this level, right? So what may possibly happen is that price may push slightly down from where it is currently, because we have that M structure with a neckline. Price broke the neckline to the bottom side and then went up to retest it, and we might see at this level price push further down. However, having said that, bear in mind that we have this bigger neckline of that huge M structure that we spoke about, and as much as price is at this level over here currently, what may actually happen is price may push further up to actually test this bigger M structures neckline, right? But nonetheless, we just need to ensure that we are up to speed in terms of all the possible outcomes that we may see in regards to the daily chart of Volatility 75, right? So what I'm going to do now is also utilize the Fibonacci retracement tool just to see if that neckline aligns with any of the key numbers that appear on the tool. So just bear with me. There we go, right? And as I've said, the neckline of this M structure is here. So the neckline aligns with the 61.0% Fibonacci retracement level, right? So we might possibly start looking for selling opportunities at this point, right? I'm saying possibly look for, actually, let me just go back. Sorry, I just want to make sure that my fib is 100% in order. There we go. Yeah. So as I said, the neckline of this M structure aligns with the 61.8% Fibonacci retracement level, right? And we might possibly start looking for selling opportunities at this point. Possibly. I'm not saying that we should just sell. I'm saying we might possibly look for selling opportunities at that point. However, we just need to ensure that we find further reasons for why we are selling at that point, or why we want to sell at that point. Anyway, let's proceed. I'm just going to delete this fib tool. I actually want to add another neckline here, but I think it's going to be too confusing for you guys because we already have multiple lines everywhere. So I'm just going to leave that, but just keep in mind that we have this level over here, which is the neckline of this smaller M structure that we have over here, right? Keep that in the back of your mind. Anyway, let's proceed. In regards to the daily chart, I don't see anything further really. So what I'm going to do is head down to the H4 chart. So just bear with me. Just bear with me while my chart loads. For some strange reason, I seem to be having slow access to the internet. Come on, chart, open up. There we go. Right. So here we are on the H4 chart. Remember, on the daily chart, I said we had a neckline at this point, and that's the neckline of this M structure over here. So just keep that in the back of your mind, right? So as much as that's the case, in fact, before we continue, the first thing that I'm going to do in regards to the daily chart, or rather the H4 chart, is to add my H4 channel. So just bear with me, guys. Let's see, H4 channel. I would add it in this manner. There we go. There we go, more or less, right? There goes our H4 channel. Can you guys see that this channel has a third touch at this point? We had two more touches before, right? And we also have this M structure. And can you see that the neckline of that M structure almost aligns with the touch, or rather the third touch of that trend line? So we might see indeed price push further down from where it is currently, as I'd said, right? Nonetheless, having said that, we need further confirmation for selling. This is not enough evidence or enough data for us to be selling. We need further confirmation to be selling, right? To add to that, also bear in mind that we have a W structure over here, right, which also has a neckline at that point, right? And what may actually happen is price may push further down to test the neckline of this W structure, and then push further up to over here, right? And as I said, we have that smaller M structure over here, and this level is also the neckline of that huge M structure that we spoke about on the weekly chart, right? So I hope what I'm saying is not confusing. I'm just trying to show you all the possible outcomes and how we need to ensure that we are up to speed in regards to all the possible outcomes and what may happen next, right? Anyway, let's proceed. So I'm just going to add the neckline of the W structure as well, so that we don't forget about it. So there goes our neckline. Let's see, there we go, right? So what else do we see on this chart that we should be paying attention to? At this point, I don't see much really. Although I will tell you that a lot of traders and investors have sold at this region, and that is because of the multiple touches that they see um, on this trend line over here, and I think they expect price to move further down. But myself, I won't just sell based on touches of trend lines, right? I need further confluence, I need further reasons, right? If price from where it is currently pushes further up to around this point and then rejects at this point, I might possibly look for a selling opportunity, because it means that it would give me a very nice M structure, as you guys can see, and my take profit would be, or rather my first take profit would be this level over here, and that is because it is the neckline of this huge W structure. And I said that at this point we might possibly see price push further up, right? I hope that makes sense, guys. I hope what I've said makes sense. Anyway, let's proceed. So what else do we see on this H4 chart that we should be paying attention to? I don't see much really, guys, but I also just want to point out one last thing, and that is that because we have this W structure over here, when it comes to W structures, right, we know by now that a lot of traders and investors buy on the second leg of the W structure, and they place their stop losses just below, right? So what may actually happen is price may not only, or rather may not actually bounce off this area. If it does go down, it may go down even further to attack all of those stop losses that are located at this point, and then only push further up, maybe to around here, to form a very nice big W structure. And at this point we might see a possible reversal as well, because this is where we have the neckline of the huge M structure, and price may reverse down. So what I'm doing is just showing you all the possible outcomes. Yeah, so that is it as far as my analysis of Volatility 75. I hope it makes sense, and peace out, guys.